Hello, good morning, friend. Myself, Dr. Fahad Zulfikar from Gautam Buddha University. In this video, I will present some interesting proofs of infinitudes of primes. As we know, when we start learning any language, you start with its alphabets. And mathematics is the language of this universe, and we learn it by starting with numbers in our schools. And the study of numbers is called number theory. In old literature, the name is arithmetics. And what the fundamental theorem of arithmetic says that primes are the building blocks of all natural numbers. So precisely every natural number can be written as a finite product of powers of distinct primes in a unique way up to the multiple of permutation of primes or up to the multiple of units. So every number can be written uniquely as finite product of distinct primes. So this actually makes the study of primes more interesting. And in this video, we will actually we will present the proof of very natural question that strike to our mind is that how many primes we have. So definitely the number of prime is infinite, but we will see the proofs, various proofs of this fact. So this result, this infinite roots of primes, it has several proofs. So more than 100 proofs are available. So I will just present two of them. So the first proof of this infinite roots of prime is given by this Greek mathematician Euclid, who gave its proof in its book Elements in around 300 BC, maybe 2000 years ago. And the proof actually stand alone because it serve as a good example for the use of method of contradiction. So what is the method of contradiction? That also we will know by its proof. And another proof that we will see in this video is the proof given by H. Furstenberg in 1955 in his paper. So it's a topological proof. So to understand that proof also, we will define some basic notion of topology. There are other several interesting proofs. For example, proofs by Eilers. That is also one of the beautiful proofs that connects all integers with all primes through infinite series and infinite products. And the proof actually follows by the fact that the harmonic series is convergent. So that proof is also worth to be read. So we start with the proof of Euclid. So the very first proof given by this Euclid of this result, infinite roots of primes. So before that, I define this. So first I define what is prime. So everybody knows this, what is prime. So here, natural number n greater than 1 is said to be prime if its only divisors are 1 and n itself. So any number whose only divisors are that number and this one. So that number is called prime. And if a number is not prime, we know it's a composite. So for example, 2, 3, 5, 7 and so on. So how many primes we have? So that is the goal of this video, and we will see two proofs. So there are infinitely many primes. So this natural question, so how many primes we have? Two we have. And the answer is this. There are infinitely many primes. So this is the result that we will see from different angles. So there are infinitely many primes. Now I first prove this result given by this Euclid. So Euclid proof for this fact. So assume on contrary, okay, there are finitely many primes and we list them. So assume, so let us assume that so there are finitely many primes only. So we list them. Let us take this Pn. So we are just going by assuming on contrary that there are finitely many primes. And suppose they are P1, P2, Pn. Now consider this number. So we construct a number. So consider a number. So this n. We define this n and this successor of this product of all these primes. So consider this natural number, and this number is greater than any of these primes. So definitely, so it is a natural number. So there are two possibilities: either it's this number is a prime or it is not a prime. It's a composite number. So in both cases, we will arrive at a contradiction, and that contradiction will give rise to our result. So that will contradict to this assumption, this okay, there are finitely many primes. So there are two possibilities for this number n. So the case one is n is so if n is prime. So what will happen if n is prime, because n is a number greater than any of these pi's. The way we have constructed itself says that n is greater than. So if n is a prime, then we get a prime which is greater than any of these primes. So we get a new prime. So we get a new prime from given p to pn. But that's not possible because we have already assumed that there are finitely many primes and we are taking them as this p1, p2, pns. So this case give rise a contradiction to this possibility, to our assumption that there are finitely many primes. So we get a contradiction in this case because you get a new prime which is different from these n primes. So a contradiction. To our assumption. Now the case 2. Case 2. So if n is not a prime, if n is not a prime means n it is a composite. So you have a prime which will divide this number. So there exists a prime. So there exists a prime set q that this q divides n. Now we claim that this q is different from this p1, p2, pn. This q is different from otherwise. So if p were one of these, then it will divide one also. So if q is pj for some j from 1 to n, then this will imply this pj will divide n and pj will divide n, and that will tell you that pj will divide 1, and it's a contradiction. It's a contradiction because p is a p1, p2, pn all are prime, they cannot divide 1. So we get a contradiction. It means this prime divisor q is different from this n primes. So again we get a new prime which is different from these primes. But that again contradicts to our assumption that there are finitely many primes p1, p2, pn. So in both cases we get a new primes which is different from these n primes. So that's a contradiction to this assumption. So our list actually cannot be exhaustive. Once you assume finitely, you can always produce a new one. So that proves this result, infinitudes of primes. So very simple proof given by the Euclid. Now we prove this topological proof to this result, and this proof is given by this H. Furstenberg in 1955. But before we go for the proof, we first define some preliminary notion to understand that proofs. So first I define topology. So Fudson was actually defines a very strange topology on integers, and from that he established this result. So let me just define what is a topology. So what is a topology? So let X be a non-empty set. Let X be a non-empty set and a collection. Call it as C of subsets of X which satisfy following condition. So the first condition, to satisfy following condition. The first condition for this collection C is phi, and the whole space should also be the member of this collection. So empty set and the whole space X should be the member of this collection. The second one, any arbitrary union of the members of C is also a member of C. So you take any number of elements of members of C and form a union. So that union will also be in this collection. It should also be a member of this C, collection C. Arbitrary, it could be finite, it could be countable, it could be uncountable also. So the third one, any finite intersection. Finite intersection members of C also a members of C. So any finite intersection of the members of C is also a member of C. So you take any finite number of members of C and form their intersection. That intersection should also be in this collection. So this collection with these three properties is called topology. So a collection of the subset which satisfy this is called a topology on X. Called a topology. So I just make a remark, and the members of the topology, they are called open sets. So this remark. So as we know, the members of the vector space are called vectors. Similarly, the members of the topology, they are called open sets. So remark number. Members of C are called open sets. So any member of C is called an open set. Similarly, you can have the notion of closed sets also. So a subset of X is called closed if its complement is open. Means its complement is a member of C. So this actually this give rise to the notion of this closed sets. Closed sets. Set the subset K X said to be closed. Its complement, if its complement belongs to form. That is its complement. Those sets are those whose complements are open. And what is an open set? It's a member of topology. And what is a topology? It's a collection of subset with these three properties. Phi and X should be in that collection, and arbitrary members of the collection should be a member of the collection, and finite intersection of the members of collection should also be a member of the collection. So it's a topology. Now we define a topology on integers that is used to prove infinitudes of primes by H. Kursenberg. So now I define this strand topology. So this topology on Z integers. What is Z? Z is in fact set of integers. So first I define this. So for any and in Z where n is not equal to 0, we define this set. So it is just those elements m plus k and then k belongs to Z. So in short, you can have this notation also m plus and Z. Every element in this collection is of this form. So it's an arithmetic progression centered around this number m with the common ratio n. So precisely actually what this set is, this is m, this is m plus n, plus 2n and so on. And on the left you have this m minus n and so on. So this way you will go. So this is the two-tailed arithmetic progression. So arithmetic. So using this arithmetic progression, we define a topology that is now known as the Furstenberg topology, just to honor that mathematician. So how do we define this term? Furstenberg topology. So Furstenberg topology. So we declare open set topology. This is defined by this is defined by declaring open sets as either phi empty set or as the union of all such arithmetic. So by declaring open set to be either phi or it could be the union of any union of all such arithmetic progressions. So in whatever number you take arithmetic progression, form the union. So that union we call it as open set, means the members of the topology. So we are defining our topology by declaring its member either phi or the union of all such arithmetic progression. So it's a topology. So I will not go to prove that whether this will really define a topology or not. It's a fact. So that is also simple. So one can prove easily that this will define a topology on this. So only thing actually this the third finite intersection property will follow, this condition will follow by the use of Chinese remainder theorem. So whenever two arithmetic progression intersect, they will intersect either on phi or the intersection is again an arithmetic progression. So that Chinese remainder application of Chinese remainder theorem will actually tell you that this will really define a topology on that, and that topology is known as, just after Furstenberg, known as the Furstenberg topology, and sometimes it is also known as even space topology or arithmetic progression topology. So other names in literature. This even space topology, even space topology. Topology and this arithmetic progression. So arithmetic progression topology actually is clear because it is, this topology is generated by this arithmetic progressions. So even space topology or arithmetic progression topology. And remember that every arithmetic progression is a member of this topology. Because the open sets are the union of the arithmetic progression. If you take that one member itself, so it is going to be in the topology. So every arithmetic progression, these are the basic open sets in this topology. So every arithmetic progression is an open set. It's a member of the topology. And this arithmetic progression is infinite subset of Z, because you are assuming n to be non-zero. So either phi or infinite subset of Z. So whatever open set you take in this topology, so either it is finite or if it is not, sorry, either it is phi or if it is not phi, then it is an infinite subset. So finite non-empty set cannot be open. So this remark we will, so this observation we will. this observation. Finite, non-empty subset of that cannot be open. So any finite set cannot be open because open sets are either phi or they are the union of arithmetic progression, and each arithmetic progression is an infinite subset of that. So it can't be finite. So, so let us go for the proof of this result. Okay, one more remark. So let me just write. So every arithmetic progression AM is open. And if you take the complement, so if I take the complement of this, so if I take the complement means the Z minus AMN. So you can notice that it's just the union of. So what is complement? Let us understand this by geometrically. So what is this? So this is your. So this is your M. This is your M plus N. Let me just write it here. This is your M plus N and so on. This is your M minus N. And in between you have N minus 1 integer. What is this? This is M plus 1. This is M plus 2 and so on. This is M plus N minus 1. So these are the points, bullet, which are in the arithmetic progression AMN. And in between you have N minus 1 points also. So Z minus, so here also in this interval you have this N minus 1 points, and in the next you have N minus 1 points between M plus N or M plus 2. So Z minus 1 is the union, collection of all these points. So you can notice this, the union I is from 1 to N minus 1 AM. If I take this M plus I. So M plus I. So this. So if you have I is equal to 1. So what you have M plus 1. M plus 1 and M plus N plus 1 and so on, M plus 2 N plus 1. So these equally spaced point will come in this arithmetic progression A M plus 1 comma N with the same ratio. Similarly for N I is equal to 2, you have this point and the next, so this point and so on like this. So their union in fact is the complement of this arithmetic progression. It's a finite because the number of points between any two consecutive points in this arithmetic progression is this number N plus 1. So, sorry, N minus 1 points. So this union is finite, it is from 1 to N minus 1. So complement of arithmetic progression is also open because it is the finite union. So as per the definition of topology, finite union of the members of topology is a member of topology, and each arithmetic progression is open. It's a member of topology. So this finite union is a member of the topology. Means it is also open. So your arithmetic progression is open as well as closed. As closed as well. So this fact. So open by definition and this closed by this observation. Because its complement is the union, finite union of arithmetic progression. So every arithmetic progression is open as well as closed. So now let us prove the result. So if we consider the proof, consider this, consider these open sets. Where P is a prime. So P is a prime, and here so P is a prime. So what is this correction? Sorry, I am sorry. This is 0 comma P. So it is around P. So what it is? This is P. Sorry, this is 0 P. So plus minus P, plus minus 2P, and so on. So this arithmetic progression with common difference is P around this point 0. So 0 P, 2P, and minus P, minus 2P, and so on. So that progression you have. And if you take the union of all such progression, it will cover every point because of the fundamental theorem arithmetics, except plus minus 1. So this notice that the union of, so let us take this union over all arithmetic progression of this form here 0 comma P. So what you have all the integer except plus minus 1. So in fact it will be just z minus plus minus 1. So if there were finitely many primes, then this union is finite. So it's an open set. Okay? If there were only finitely many primes, then you are taking this union with respect to this primes. So this union is finite. So this on the left side, it's an open set. If you are assuming there are finitely many primes. So this is an open set, but on the right side, but you have this complement of this finite set plus minus 1. But this complement cannot be open. So complement actually the this complement cannot be closed because this complement of this set is this finite set. Finite set by this observation cannot be open. So this plus minus 1 cannot be open. So this cannot be closed. If it is not closed, then finite union actually making this to be closed, but if it is closed but on the right side it is not closed, so number of primes cannot be finite, because if a number of primes is finite, this is a closed set. The finite union of closed set is closed, but on the right side you don't have closed sets because its complement, which is plus minus 1, is not open. So if you are assuming number of primes to be finite, on the right side you have a closed set, but on the left side you have a closed set, but on the right side the set is not closed because its complement is cannot be open. Complement is plus minus 1, a finite set. So finite set cannot be open in Z with respect to this topology. So this subset is not closed. So how can this be closed? So it means your number of primes is infinite. So that proves this infinite roots of primes. Okay, this is about the proofs of infinite roots of primes. I'll stop. If you like this video, okay, I stop here.